G'day there, it's George again. If you're new to Cambodia, like I am, or if you're still in the process of making your way down here to the Kingdom of Wonder, you're going to be exposed to a lot of new experiences, a lot of which won't make any kind of sense at all compared to your home country, especially if it's a Western one. And so in this video, I'm going to be describing 5 key Khmer customs that I've personally been exposed to, and which have really tremendously helped me to get to know the Khmer people and their ways. And so this will all be done with a backdrop of me walking from my local markets to the GT Club morning meeting and then also beyond. So let's get on with it, eh? All right, see you on the other side. Ciao. So, where were we? I'll first preface the 5 key customs of the Khmer people by talking a little bit about or describing what I see as the essential national character of the Khmer people. And it's to be community focused and family centric, and there's a really high level of respect, great respect for elders and also for authority. And of course, all of that's deeply influenced by the principles and values of Buddhism. So I'd say that in general, I would describe the manner that people speak and how they behave using the following descriptive terms. I would say that by and large, the Khmer people are very calm and they value dignity and respect. I also see them as being incredibly tolerant, which means that there's a lot of flexibility and patience that is required in your everyday dealings with whatever it happens to be. I also believe that there's a high degree of sincerity, not with everyone, of course, there's always caveats, which I'll talk about later. But I believe that mostly the people are way more sincere here than they are in the Western world. Meaning in terms of honesty and actually truly caring about the welfare of others. And the final very quick term that I'll describe now is loyalty. And what I will say is that, as I said, they're community focused and family centric above all, which means that always the loyalty, if push comes to shove, will be to the family. And that's something important that's should be remembered. But those Westerners, particularly menfolk, who come here potentially even looking for a wife or a partner or whatever, and they need to understand that, of course, there are always exceptions, but if you become involved with a Khmer person, and in this case I'll say a Khmer wife with a Western man, you wouldn't be marrying just her, you're marrying her whole family. And even then, the family will always come first because you're a foreigner, you are not Khmer. And as I said, there's always exceptions to that, but that is something to understand right from the get-go. That loyalty is there, but it's also a matter of priorities. And given the history of Cambodia and what's happened, particularly with the Khmer Rouge and so forth, and how they've recovered from that, it's always been a matter of survival. And that still is ingrained in the society. So the family always comes first. The loyalty is always to the family. But things are changing as Cambodia also becomes partly westernized. But I think it's a great strength that it hasn't gone too far in that direction. I hope that it doesn't go in that too far in that direction anytime soon. So, alrighty, so there's just a bit of a preface to the customs that I'm now going to talk about, all 5 of them. So the first key custom that I'm going to talk about is probably the most important one of all, which is communication. Generally speaking, it's considered to be rude, to be too direct, or too abrupt when speaking with Khmer people. And this also applies to other Southeast Asian countries and Japan as well, where I lived and worked, and I already learnt it there. And I'm seeing it again here, obviously, and experiencing it again here. So what I'm essentially saying here is that in conversations, try to avoid asking questions where you have literally a binary answer, meaning yes or no, because it can create an awkward situation, an uncomfortable situation where the person would actually want to say no, but they will feel obliged to say yes because they themselves don't want to appear to be impolite. So the best way to approach it, whether someone you're asking for something to be done, or even if a tuk-tuk driver asks you, you need a tuk-tuk or whatever, if you don't need a tuk-tuk, you say no, but that's too abrupt. You can say no, thank you, that's better, but you can even take it to the next level, which is just give an indefinite that, yeah, maybe later, thank you, or something of that nature. And that way there's been no outright refusal of the request from them, but likewise in the opposite direction. If you ask someone, could you do this for me? Whatever it happens to be. Maybe it could be couched as, this is something that I need. I'm not sure if you can help me, but maybe you can suggest something. Be a lot more vague. And that way you're not putting them in a position where they literally have to answer yes every time, even if they want to say no. So this is very much also about saving face as well and being considerate and polite. So as you communicate with Khmer people, both when you request something or when they request something from you, just maybe keep this in mind, just to tone down and soften the communication so that it doesn't come across as being so abrupt and rude. And that will make a huge difference for how well you get along with people. And one very important thing is that even if a Khmer person will answer yes, but they are uncomfortable, they can also smile. But don't interpret the smile to mean that they actually agree. It's just another way to mask the awkwardness or the discomfort. So that's something also to keep in mind, that a smile doesn't always mean it's a positive thing. And that sounds quite weird, but there you go. So that's the first one, just a very basic idea of communication. Be flexible and be patient and just allow people to, flow through the situation, and eventually stuff will get done. But just try not to put people into uncomfortable and awkward situations by either requesting something with a yes or no answer or answering back with a yes or no answer. If it's a yes and it's a genuine yes, easy. But if you want to say no, then maybe have a think about how you do that. All right, there's number one. Now, the second custom actually relates to the first one, which is how to deal with potentially uncomfortable situations, which in the Western world would lead to arguments and the overt expressing of disappointment or even anger. And that is also something that's frowned upon. So again, it relates to communication, but now taking it to the level where, again, in the Western world, like if someone promised something and they didn't deliver, or there was a situation that would otherwise make you angry or disappointed or whatever, you can't deal with it the same way as you would in the Western world, because it's not so much even a matter of logic, but about emotion and feeling. And this goes to the heart, sorry for the cliche, this goes to the heart of the matter, which is it's heart-centric, it's emotion, it's feeling, and it's caring. And if you care for someone, you don't argue with them, you don't express your anger, you discuss. Okay? And together you work out a solution that will be a win-win for the both of you. It should never be done in a way where if your needs are not met, then you lose your cool. And that's seen as awkward, embarrassing, rude. So, if things don't go your way, it could be not getting the apartment that you want or not getting the kind of customer service that you believe you have a right to or you deserve or whatever it may be. Even if someone treats you rudely, it doesn't mean you have to respond with the same energy. I'm already learning after about 6 or 7 weeks that the best way to approach things is just to listen, allow the person to have their say. You don't have to agree with them, but also you don't have to fight them and you don't have to take it personally and get angry. There's going to be disappointments, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be things that don't go your way, and that happens all the time. An example of that is traffic. Where I come from in Finland, where I've been for the last 7 years, you only literally need 2 motorists to have a traffic jam and an incident of road rage, because both are moving along with their ego and trying to defend their right to do whatever they want, and someone else is getting in their way. And I've mentioned traffic before in my previous videos where it looks like chaos, but it actually flows because there's no ego involved. People are just wanting to get from point A to point B themselves, and they want to make sure that others do the same. And collectively, that's what they've agreed, that let's look after each other. Let's just get on with our business. There's already enough stuff in life to worry about. Let's just not add frustration, anger, all ego-based into the mix, because that will lead to accidents and tragedy and expense and heartbreak. So, very, very important that if you are a foreigner and you come here and you're not used to how things are here, and you're bringing with you that logical mindset of that I've been wronged, I was in the right, you're at fault, and you lose your cool and you express your anger and disappointment in such overt and abrupt ways, that's not going to lead to anywhere good. It's super embarrassing, it's super rude, and it's not going to get you endeared with the local community. It's just not going to happen. So consider toning that down and counting to 10 or counting to 100 if you do get into such a situation. And if you can't keep your cool, the best thing you can do is say, thank you, I need to go now, we can talk later, and just excuse yourself and become absent until you've cooled down and figured out what was going on. And then you can live to fight another day. Because it can take a long time to create good relationships, but you can destroy them in an instant. And if you're going to live in a local community, you piss off one local with that kind of behavior, and the word will spread. You'll still be tolerated, but you won't be considered a nice person or someone that they want to open up to. And my understanding is some people can be very shy. And so that kind of a boisterous approach and rude approach and abrupt approach is not going to help matters in that regard to get to know people. So tread firmly, but tread carefully when it comes to matters like that. So don't lose your cool. You can feel disappointed, that's an internal feeling, but do not express your anger or your disappointment where the other person clearly knows that that's what's going on. Because you may well get, again, as I said in the first point, you might get a smile back, might be an awkward one, and you're going to be confused, like, why are they smiling? I'm just losing my cool. But they're not smiling because they're happy, they're smiling because they don't know what else to do in that situation, but they are not happy. So please take care with that aspect of things.
Hey,
Look what they let out.
you're late. You're late. No.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, guys.
How you doing, Yuri?
And the most beautiful to last. Hey. All right, I'll go get myself a drink then.
Let me guess, a die by gong.
Yeah, you want one? You already got one?
I got one.
I'm gonna go. Hey. Hello. Could I have a Dai Bai Dong? A sweet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen.
All right, man.
Great to see you again.
Yeah.
See you at the latest in a week's time, but maybe at the Salty Dog sometime.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not going to be playing any lingo.
Yeah.
What is the Yeah, you go. Did you go with the lingo last night?
All right, take it easy, guys. See you later. How cool. Bye-bye. Okay, so the next custom is about the principle or concept of tipping or offering service, whether it be financial or otherwise. If you're from the US, then of course tipping culture is ingrained in the society, but I believe that it's done differently here. But if you're from Europe, which is where I've spent the last 7 years, it's almost unheard of, except in exceptional cases of amazing service that has gone above and beyond the call of duty. Whether that's service in a restaurant, or let's say removalists have moved your stuff from one place to another really well, or whatever it may be, okay? Whatever people would tip for those sorts of exceptional things. But here it's a way of life. But the difficulty I had when I arrived was that, which I also ran into in India when I had visited there in the late 90s, is that you'll have people constantly coming up to you and offering something. You need a tuk-tuk, sir. Can I carry that for you? Here, let me do that for you. Can I take your picture? You know. Now, in my mind, I would do all of those things without requesting anything or expecting anything in return. But that isn't the way that it works here. At least what I've noticed, it doesn't. But the problem there is there are people who will offer their help and expect nothing in return, and there are those who will behaving exactly the same way but expect something in return, and you're never going to know till afterwards. So the best thing that you can do is when someone offers you service, again, if you don't want it, alluding to the earlier point and custom, don't answer with an abrupt no, but maybe just say, thank you, maybe later, and then just be on your way, if you want to say no. But if you say yes, then be prepared that it's going to involve a certain level of financial transaction. But then the question is how much? So I think I've come up with a very simple starting formula, and anyone who has more to add to this or who can give more information about it or their thoughts, please give a comment. But the way that I look at it is this, that my understanding is that a regular Khmer worker can earn from, let's say, $8 to $12 a day, depending on the job that they're doing. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's a 8-hour day and $8, or a 10-hour day, $10, just to make it easy, which equates to $1 per hour of service provided. So if you're getting service from someone, or they've offered it and you've accepted it, then be prepared that it's going to cost you something. But then, as I said, how much? Well, you can use that formula and think, well, if that person is giving me 5, 10, 15 minutes of their time, well, let's say 15 minutes, then that's $0.25, which is 25 cents. And that just sounds so ridiculously low to a foreigner. But understand that $1, for example, in the markets will get you a bag of rice or a kilo of rice, a kilo of vegetables or fruit or whatever. So there is real world value in like that dollar. So what I've come to understand is that 25 cents is a bit of a slap in the face. That's 1,000 rial, even for whatever is done. But if they're giving you good service, then I would say that's somewhere between 75 cents to $1.50 for some kind of an interaction like that, whatever it may be. Okay? But if it's just a momentary, parking assistance who's helping you to get your bike out of something, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 if you're feeling super generous. But if it's like when we were down with Kelly from Autumn in Asia at Phnom Kram, and we got to visit the water's edge of a village that was basically covered in water, and a guy flagged us down who lived in that village, and he just told us stuff about it and everything for about 15 minutes, then that's a little bit more exceptional. And so we ended up together giving him about 6,000 rial, which is $1.50. And I do have to comment that we still got the look like that wasn't enough, but I think we both felt that that was more than enough given what you could get with $1.50 in the markets. And we'll just leave it at that, let's just say. But, don't feel that you need to be guilted into giving more. But as long as you kind of have that sort of basic framework of what's a reasonable minimum amount, then there's no reason for anyone to be upset. And if they're showing that they're not grateful for what you gave them, just smile and say, thank you very much for showing everything and all the best to you, and then just leave. But don't start to argue and don't dispute, don't get angry, right? And also understand that where they're coming from, if they have nothing, then they're acting out of a need. And that literally almost trumps any kind of thought of greed in a way. It's a bit hard to, it's justified to be greedy if your family has nothing to eat, because your greed is based on survival. So that's another thing to consider there. So anyway, hopefully that sort of formula gives you some idea of how I'm approaching it. Again, this is just my point of view. And as I said, if anyone's got anything to add or correct or whatever, then just let me know in the comments. All right, that'll do it for that. Let's get on to the next one. All right, key custom number 4. And this is actually a number of individual behaviors that are based in Cambodian daily culture. So I'll just list them off, maybe with just a few comments. First things first, if you go into someone's house, take your shoes off. And if you go into a temple, then especially take your shoes off, okay? So that's just something that everyone does here. And fortunately in Finland, we already had that custom that when you enter someone's apartment or whatever, you take your outdoor shoes off in the hallway, and then you can use slippers or your socks or your bare feet once you're actually in the house. So that was a no-brainer for me, very easy to do, but that's just something that happens here all the time. Related to the shoes is the feet, and it's considered rude to point the bottoms of your feet towards someone, especially a monk. So if you're sitting down on the ground, have your feet, bottoms of your feet, the soles of your feet pointing away from anybody, or even bend them to the side or cross them or something, but don't have your feet, the bottom of your feet, pointed towards other people, particularly the elder people and monks. Okay, that's a no-no. Very disrespectful. The next thing is shaking hands. In the Western culture, we shake hands when we meet people, or even people we haven't seen for a while, men, women alike. Here, it's very unusual to shake the hands of Khmer women, unless they've been more westernized because they've spent time overseas or whatever it may be. In those situations, if they extend their hand to shake yours, no problem, but maybe don't extend your hand to shake theirs. Because again, that's literally saying, here's my hand, shake it. and they will probably shake it because they don't want to offend, but it's going to again be very uncomfortable. So maybe don't do that. With the gentleman, it's a lot more common, but again, if you're not sure, then don't do that. And there's other ways to go around that, which I'll talk about shortly. And one of the things that I actually got called up in my latest video, previous one I think it was not to touch people on their heads, especially children, because it's considered really rude and offensive. And I had been walking around my local neighbourhood, doing a walking tour and videoing that, and a bunch of kids came up and were shouting, "Hello, hello, how are you, hello?" And they came up and almost started hugging me. And out of instinct, I just reached out to, grab the head, but, kind of like around the neck and on the shoulder and say, "How are you?" That sort of thing. But someone had seen the video and commented on that, and I'm glad that they did, because that was something that I didn't know at all. In the Western world, it's almost customary to, tap a kid on the head or on the shoulder or something like that and say, "How you doing, little fella," whatever. Nice to meet you. But here it's a no-no. So that's something that I learned firsthand from actually experience. I didn't know, so it wasn't intentional, but it is something that was pointed out to me, and that's the way it's going to be. Like, if your intentions are good and you do a no-no, you will be corrected, but again, you might not be corrected abruptly, but you'll be shown the right way to do it. And just be vigilant, look at how the locals behave and act accordingly. Another thing then is when you offer something to someone, and this could be the tip that I talked about in the previous custom point. Always hand it with your right hand. And if you want to be extra special and respectful, you'll actually hold the bottom of your right elbow with your left hand as you extend whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's money or food or whatever it is. And there's a reason why it's the right hand. I'll get to that a little bit later. So another custom is when you're offering something, money or otherwise, food for example, offer it with your right hand, and if you want to be extra respectful, then hold on to the bottom of your right elbow with your left palm. So that's a couple of pretty cool customs that I've learned. So what have we got? Shoes off when you go in to an apartment or to a temple or monastery. Don't point your feet at anybody, the bottom of your feet at anybody, and that includes elders and monks especially. Shaking hands depends on who it is, but be mindful that it's not customary to do that. There's the other way, which I'll talk about just shortly. Also, don't touch the head. And there you go. I think that was all of them. So, and of course, yes, obviously offering something with your right hand, not your left. So that is key custom point number 4, which had a whole number of smaller things involved. So, the final key custom, number 5. And this is one that could have just as easily been included in the previous one, but I wanted to mention it separately because it's so central to everyday life here in Cambodia, in literally every situation when you're interacting with Khmer people. And that is the sampeah. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Others will know it as the namaste. Essentially, palms together in a praying position, raised up to the level of the nose or the head. When you want to say thank you, when you want to express gratitude, and ultimately when you want to show respect. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, whether it's thanking a tuk-tuk driver, thanking a waitress at the restaurant, just passing someone on the street and they're an elder person or whatever it may be. And of course, if you visit the temples, then there's a special way to do it also with monks. So there are a lot of nuances with how to do it correctly. And I'm not going to get into that because I personally don't know that myself. But the general idea of showing your respect and gratitude and saying thank you with a sampeah in your communications and interactions with Khmer people on the daily will get you so far. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I've seen, and I literally do that automatically now, and it's just become literally second nature after about 6 or 7 weeks. So there you go, the namaste, the sampeah, palms together, praying position, raised to the level of your head, nose, as a basic rule. Then do that every day, all the time, in every interaction, to show your respect and show that you're paying attention and show others that you see them. That's very, very important. So even if you don't talk to someone, like I said, if you're walking down the street and an elderly person is coming towards you, there's no problem at all with showing your respect to them, even if no words are passed. So that one to me is actually, out of all of those customs, probably the one that you need to start with and have that as the foundation, and everything will come from that, okay? And namaste, as far as my understanding of Sanskrit is, it means I bow to your soul, or something of that nature. And it's a beautiful thought to actually have. So show your respect to people and salute their souls. And that again goes to the idea of approaching your interactions people from not a logical and an analytical and a Western approach, but from a heart-centered, caring and loving approach. And you start with that and you're going to go real far and have no issues at all. All right, so there we go. That's the 5. Hopefully you'll find those useful. And again, if I've got anything wrong or if anyone wants to add anything, then just please let me know in the comments so everyone else can also get that information as well. Okay, so that's it for the 5 key Khmer customs. There's still another 20 or so minutes of walking on the back streets of Siem Reap remaining. So if you'd like to enjoy that with some nice background music, then please go ahead. However, if you'd like to jump ahead to the outro, then just go to the time marked on the timestamp on the screen. See you at the end. Hello. Alrighty, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed the walk. Hopefully you also found the 5 key Khmer customs that I described from my personal experience useful as well. Of course, naturally it goes without saying that not everything is going to work the same way in every situation, because there's always nuances and caveats, but I believe it's a good place to start anyway, and over time, if you get things wrong, it doesn't matter. As long as your intention is good, then you'll be shown the way very gently with time. I think that's all I've got to talk about. There is one more thing, which is actually about toilet paper. There's a segue for you. Very few places carry toilet paper. Some restaurants do, but a lot of places don't, even if you think they would. So unless you're going to get ready for some regular left-handed exit wound aquatherapy, then I suggest you carry some bog roll with you in your backpack or bag or whatever, bicycle basket, when you're out and about exploring, because you just never know when the need is going to hit you. When you get that tickle, you might only have a few minutes to make it to your destination, as I've found out a few times, but so far so good. I've been able to make it. But thanks again for watching this latest video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cool. George out. Bye.